Okay guys, so I've had a lot of trouble recording this video, so I do apologize that it's very late, but let's kind of go through this. This is the finished product of the actual worksheet that you should kind of have. The only thing I don't have done here, I think, is the My Meals worksheet. I haven't really calculated all this stuff yet, but I'll get to that. This is pretty easy stuff, and it's the same stuff as the Chick-fil-A worksheet. So let's start looking at McDonald's real quick, okay? So here's what we did with McDonald's. If you haven't done this already, and let me just kind of make sure, okay. I'm going to have to undo a few things here real quick. Hang on. Okay, so here's kind of what we have done so far. If you've watched the first 3 videos, then you should have minimums, maximums, and averages down here for your McDonald's, your Burger King, and your Wendy's worksheets. All right? And make sure here, I didn't change this. Format cells, number, no decimals. All right, so what I'm going to do now is play around with what's called tables. All right, so I'm going to click anywhere in my data, and I'm going to start on the McDonald's worksheet. I'm going to go to the Insert tab, and I'm going to say Insert Table. All right, and make sure you have this checked. My table has headers, because if you look at row 1, you do have a header row. Okay, so I'm going to click OK, and all it does is it puts in a formatting style called banded rows into my table, and it also gives me what's called drop-down arrows or filters so that I could sort or I could select or deselect certain things to show. But there's easier ways to do it. There's easier ways to filter information than using your actual filters here, and we're going to go through all this stuff in just a second. All right. The other thing I want to bring to your attention is that tables do have names. All right. Even though you don't see it in the actual table, if you look up here in your ribbon, and I'm under the Table Tools Design tab, it'll say Table 1, and go ahead and rename that McDonald's. The trick to table names is that they cannot be 2 words, they can't have spaces, they can't have apostrophes or grammatical marks, they can have letters and numbers, and that's it, no spaces. All right, so go to the Burger King worksheet now, and I'll show you what we did here. You're going to notice up here that I have what's called a chart, all right, and this is what's called a column chart. In order to generate that chart, here's what I did. Again, click anywhere in your table here for your Burger King worksheet, and go ahead and insert your table. And you're going to say, my table has headers. Make sure that's checked. It usually is. Sometimes it's not. So just kind of look at it. If you don't have that checked, here's kind of what happens. When I say insert table, it'll actually put in a new row and put in headers for me, which is not what I want. All right. And that just causes you a real big headache when you go to generate charts. So I'm going to say insert table. My table has headers. Boom. All right. And again, this formatting here where every other row is shaded, that's called banded rows. And there is a test question that's going to want you to turn off banded rows and turn on banded columns. So go ahead and do that if you haven't already. There's not much more you can do with tables. You can apply table styles here, and all it does is kind of change the color of the actual table, all right? And you can do that if you'd like. You can go ahead and apply a table style to the Burger King menu if you'd like, all right? And then here's how I generated the chart. I already have one here, but I'll show you how I generated this. All I did was click anywhere in my table, and I went to Insert, and over here we have a charts group. I usually just click on this thing right here that says recommended charts, and then I kind of go to all charts to figure out which chart I want to use. The recommended chart feature is really cool. It will look at your data, and it will basically say, based on your data and the way that it's arranged, this would be a really good chart for you. All right, and this is the one I actually used right here. It's a clustered column chart. So I'm going to say okay. Boom. And now I have a clustered column chart. You know how we had table names, like the name of your actual table is up here, and let's go ahead and rename this one Burger King since we haven't yet. No spaces. This chart also has a name, all right, but your chart title is actually right here. It's a lot easier, and on your test you're going to see change the chart title, and you're going to think, oh, it can't be that easy. There's got to be something harder, and it's not. It's just literally typing in the title. Now, if they say they want you to do an alternative text title on your test, that's tricky. So check this out. If you right click on a chart and you go to Format Chart Area, if you go over here to this little square that says Size and Positions and click it, you're going to see this thing that says Alt Text. And this is where they might want you to type in an alternative text title. Alternative text, if you click the little I here, it will tell you exactly what it does. All right. Alternative text is for people with vision or cognitive impairments who may not be able to see or understand the object. The title can be read to the person with the disability. This is used to determine whether they wish to hear the description of the content, all right? So they can hear the title and it'll read the description of the content to them, which is very handy, all right? So mostly for people with cognitive or vision impairments, all right? Check this out. Notice how this chart up here has what's called axis titles. If you ever want to add a chart element, you're going to hit the little plus sign right here, and you're going to see all these things that you can add to your chart. And what your test is going to want you to do is insert what's called axis titles, all right? And once you click on axis titles, you're going to have to do one of two things. You're either going to have to delete this one and rename this one, or you're going to have to rename both of them. And let's go ahead and rename both of them. Let's call this one menu items, and let's call this one calories. Okay. Oops, I don't want to do that. All right, so now I have axis titles as well. Another real quick question that you might see is notice here how I have my legend on the right-hand side and here it's on the bottom. If you click your plus sign again and go down to legend, you'll see that you can actually arrange your legend in different places. So I can put it on the right, I can put it on the top, I can put it wherever I want. All right. Also notice how this chart is displaying total fat, carbs, and calories, all right? I only really want to display calories. So what I'm going to do here, let me show you what this does. Click off your chart somewhere and look at your table, and then click back on your chart. And notice how you get this blue bounding box around your actual chart. Hopefully you can kind of see it, and it ends down here in the little corner, all right? So when I click on my chart and I hover over the corner, if I want to exclude things from my chart, I can just grab this bounding box by the corner and take it up so that I don't include French fries, and it's going to disappear from my chart, all right? And I can do the same thing for calories and fat. I can take it over twice so that I'm just showing, carbs and fat, so that I'm just showing calories in my actual chart. Another way to select and deselect things is use your filter right here. If you click this, you're going to see that we have calories checked here, and we have all of our menu items, and you can select and deselect data like this. You can also right click and go to select data. All right, and when you say select data, you'll see everything that's currently in our actual chart. All right, and you can exclude or include certain things. So let me show you how that works. Let me take this back over and get our calories and fat back in there. So now when I go back in here and I click on my filter, you're going to see carbs and saturated fat. I could just uncheck them instead of using the bounding box. Oh, sorry, I didn't hit apply. You got to uncheck them and then hit apply at the bottom. Apply, just like that. All right, and I don't care how you do it as long as you're able to do that. So your test question for charts is going to ask you to do a couple of things. They're going to ask you for axis titles. They're going to ask you to move a legend. They're going to ask you to change the chart title, and then they're going to ask you to like exclude certain things from certain charts. All right, and again, make sure you realize that all these tables have names. So go to the Wendy's worksheet now. I think we're good with that. Wendy's is going to be nice and easy, but let's start by inserting a table. And make sure you say my table has headers. And then let's go ahead and name our table Wendy's. No apostrophe. All right. And what I'm going to show you here, I'm going to click on column C here, and I'm going to show you something called conditional formatting. It's kind of a chart by itself. All right. Conditional formatting, I'm going to show you this thing called data bars. Conditional formatting will literally just put kind of a bar chart like within the actual cell of the column so that you can quickly just get a visual and look at like what your worst item on the menu actually is. All right. And we're going to look more at conditional formatting a little more probably next week when we get into geometrics. I have little mini lessons that I'm going to sneak in between the geometrics lessons. All right. So go to Chick-fil-A. Here's what we did with Chick-fil-A. Let me start over here. You can go ahead and turn it to a table. Go ahead and turn it to a table first. All right, insert table. Make sure you check this because on the Chick-fil-A worksheet, it's not automatically checked. My table has headers, okay? And then rename this thing Chick-fil-A. All right, just like that. Now, here's the cool part. On your test, they're going to want you to like modify certain tables, and because they don't have like names that you can actually see, if you can't find a table and you have like 3 or 4 tables chilling on one worksheet, you can just click the drop down right here and you can quickly jump to certain tables within the same workbook. All right. Now that I've renamed them, it's pretty easy to kind of jump back and forth and find the table that I'm actually looking for. And your test is going to literally say, go to table 2 and modify banded rows to banded columns. And you're going to be like, I don't know, there's 2 tables. Which one's table 2? Use your drop down here and find table 2. Okay. All right, let's go over this. This is real easy. I'm going to delete this and I'll show you how I did it. We used concatenate here. You can put together any formula or any meal combination that you would like. All right. The function that you're going to use is a text function called concatenate. when I click on concatenate, it's going to ask me which text I would like. And basically what I'm asking you is what you want for breakfast. So I'm going to say that I want this bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit. For text 2, I'm going to put in a dash, and I'll show you why. For text 3, let's say I want to pair that with a hash brown. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. All right. You can see here the dash is kind of separating the bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit description from the hash brown. If I didn't have that in there, they'd just be side by side. It would kind of look like one word. And here's what I did for the calories. You're hand typing a formula here. You're not using a function. And when you're hand typing a formula, you start with the equal sign. And then all I got to do is find the calories from a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit. I got to add that to the calories from my hash brown, which is 240, and press enter. Because calories, fat, and carbs are in the same order as they are over here, I can just pull that formula over. All right, and it'll copy the formula using a relative cell reference, and it will adjust the cell references for me. You're going to do the same thing for lunch. I don't care what combos you put together, but use the concatenate function, separate everything by a hyphen, all right, and then make sure you get the calories, fat, and carbs. Here, this is what's called an if statement, and I'm going to go ahead and go through this real quick one more time for you. So it's called a logical statement, and what I basically want to ask myself is if my breakfast, lunch, and dinner at Chick-fil-A all added together, if it doesn't go over my limit for calories, which is 2,500 calories, then I met my goal. If I didn't, and I went over, then I did not meet my goal. So right here where it says logic test, I'm going to click in cell J7, or J3, sorry. I'm going to add that to 980. So if J3 plus J4 plus J5 is less than 2,500, then I met my goal. Okay, goal met. If not, then I did not meet goal. All right, and I'm going to say okay. So I did not meet my goal. Now here's the trick. I can pull this over, but it's not, don't get excited. I didn't actually meet my goal here because it's still calculating 2,500 calories. And this column is actually calculating fat. Your limit for fat was 77. So you can just click in your formula bar, delete the 2,500 and put in the 77. All right, so I did not meet my goal there. And my value, my limit for carbs was actually 325. All right. So I can press enter there, and you'll see that the only goal that I met was carbohydrates. All right, good job, Mr. Turner. What else did I want to do with Chick-fil-A? I don't think anything really. I think what I did was use a pivot chart here. So check this out. I'm going to go to insert, and this time I'm going to insert what's called a pivot chart. When I insert a pivot chart, it's automatically going to select the table for me, and you can see here because we renamed it, it says Chick-fil-A. And then I'm going to move it to a space in this existing workbook. I don't want to move it to a new workbook because I already have a lot down here. I just want to put it on this page, and I want to put it somewhere in column H. I don't care where you put it. I'm putting it right here in H21. I'm going to click OK, and don't freak out. It kind of looks like we broke stuff. We didn't break anything, all right? What I have here on the side now is what's called a pivot chart field. All right, so let me kind of scoot this over so I can see what I'm doing a little bit better and arrange this a little bit. All right, so right here I have a chart, right here I have a table, and as I drag and drop these things into my fields, you're going to notice that these charts and tables start to build themselves. So if you look at calories, fat, and carbs, and then you look down here at the boxes that you can drop them in, the number one is values. Anything that is represented in your table by a number needs to go in values. So I'm going to go ahead and drop calories down here. And notice how it's actually doing what's called a count of calories, which means it's counting how many items there are in my actual worksheet here, which looks like there's, a little over 45 items in my worksheet. I don't want it to count it, so I'm going to click my arrow here and go to value field settings, and I want it to sum. I want it to give me the sum. All right, so the sum of the calories is 15,180 calories. All right, what I'm going to do now is drop the menu item name into the legend and see what happens. All right, it breaks down the calories. Even though we have a total calories here, what it does is it breaks down the calories for us by menu item. And look at my table now. I have this huge table, and right under it, I have calories. That's probably not the best representation. So grab your menu item thing and try dropping into the axis categories. That looks much better. Now, if you scroll down, I have a table that kind of resembles this table over here, and look at my chart. All right. My chart has populated itself to reflect the data that I drag and dropped in here. All right. You can drag and drop total fat in there too and change it to a sum, and total carbohydrates too if you'd like to. Play around with pivot charts because they're really cool. You can kind of change the way that your data is displayed just kind of based on where you drop things. All right. Down here. And you can screw it up. You can make a chart that does not look so hot at all. Let me show you one more thing real quick called a slicer. When you insert a slicer for like menu items, let's say, it will let you like specifically filter your chart out so that you can only look at certain things. And let's just say that I only want to look at the 3 size of waffle fries. I can click and drag down, and now my table is only reflecting waffle fries, and so is my chart. This is called a slicer. All right, so what else do we have to do here? Let me show you the My Meals worksheet real fast. Please make sure that you do have this done. Instead of you putting together meals like you did in Chick-fil-A with concatenate, I'm actually telling you what to type into the cells here. These are the meals that I want you to put together. And then I want you to use a basic function here to calculate the meals across multiple worksheets. And I'll show you how I did that, right? So I got a Big Mac and large fry right here. For calories, I'm going to start with an equal sign. I'm going to go to the McDonald's worksheet. I'm going to find the calories for a Big Mac, and I'm going to click on it. I'm going to click plus. And then I'm going to find the calories for a large fry, which is 500, and don't click back or don't click on anything else. Just press enter on your keyboard, and it will go ahead and pop you back over to the My Meals worksheet, and it'll put in your total here. And this is what your formula should look like. All right. If you are doing the extra credit, this is what your extra credit should look like. All right. If you started Tuesday, then I want to see Tuesday right here in cell A1, and then the item name that you ate. I only gave myself room for 6 or 7 items, which is a lot. I don't know if I eat that much in a day. And then the calories for each one of those items. Right here, I'd like you to use a basic sum function, an auto sum function under the formulas tab right here that basically adds up all of your calories for that day. Right here, I would like you to do an if statement that is exactly like the if statement for Chick-fil-A. All right. Basically, all I said was if this plus this plus this plus this plus this all the way down here does not go over 2,500 calories, then I met my goal. All right. And you can see here, if I enter 2,600, did not meet goal. All right. If I enter 2,400, I did meet my goal. Okay. And that's the cool thing about functions and formulas in Excel. All right. I feel like I went through everything. The only thing I want to cover with you guys real quick is how to convert things to a range. So go to the Wendy's worksheet real fast. The test question that you're going to see is going to ask you to take a table, and the test question says remove table functionality. And what that means is convert to range. And when you convert a table to range, all you're doing is you're taking the filters out of it. And when I click in here now, I no longer actually have a table. It's not, even though it looks like a table, I don't have filters. I still have banded rows here, but I don't get table tools when I click in here, okay? All right, guys, that was a long lesson, and hopefully you did get a little bit of a nutritional lesson in here, as well as a little bit of an Excel lesson, all right? Don't forget to like and subscribe.